All right, let's talk about something we have all felt, that powerful, almost magnetic pull to do anything except the one thing we're supposed to be doing. Today, we're going to get right into the neuroscience of procrastination to figure out why your brain isn't just being lazy, it's actually putting up a real fight. Okay, let's jump in. So let's just tackle the biggest myth right out of the gate. Is procrastination just a sign that we're lazy? A failure of willpower? I mean, for years, that's what everyone thought. But what if the real science tells a completely different story? And this right here changes everything. The old myth is that procrastinators are just bad at managing their time. But the reality? It has nothing to do with time. It's an emotion regulation problem. Think about that. We're not trying to avoid the task itself. We're trying to avoid the bad feelings we associate with that task. And that leads us to the first huge idea here. Procrastination isn't your brain trying to sabotage your life. Nope. In its own weird way, it's actually trying to protect you. It's shielding you from stress or boredom or that nagging fear of failure. It's a primal escape from discomfort. So what does that actually mean? Well, when you're staring down a task that makes you feel anxious or just blah, your brain's number one priority becomes feel better now. It's going to choose the instant relief of scrolling social media over the distant long-term reward of finishing that report. And it's not even a conscious choice. It's an automatic emotional hijack. To really get this, we have to go inside the brain, because there is literally a war going on in there. You've got two very different parts of your brain fighting for the steering wheel, and whoever wins decides what you do next. So let's meet the fighters. First up, you've got the amygdala. This is your brain's alarm system. It sees a stressful task and screams, threat, threat. Then there's the prefrontal cortex, the calm, cool CEO of your brain. It's the part that makes long-term plans. And finally, you have the limbic system. Just think of this as the pleasure seeker. All it wants is to feel good right now. And here is where the battle really happens. The amygdala sounds the alarm and your emotional limbic system just freaks out, yelling, I want out of this bad feeling now. And that impulsive emotional voice just completely drowns out the quiet, rational whisper from your prefrontal cortex that's saying, hey, what about that deadline? In that moment, your emotional brain wins, and suddenly you're watching cat videos. So you might be asking, why does the emotional brain win so often? It feels like an unfair fight, right? Well, it is. And the reason is a powerful little chemical called dopamine. This is what we call the dopamine dilemma, and it explains why distractions feel so good, you just can't resist them. Now, there's a huge misconception about dopamine. We all call it the pleasure chemical, but it's really the anticipation chemical. It's not the reward itself that gives you the hit, it's the expectation of a reward. Your brain is a super efficient machine, constantly scanning your environment for the quickest, easiest path to a dopamine hit. And this chart just lays it all out. The anticipated dopamine from writing that report feels tiny and it's way off in the future. But the dopamine you expect from scrolling social media, oh, that's a huge, immediate, guaranteed reward. So when your brain looks at these two options, it's a no-brainer. It's going to chase the easy dopamine every single time. And here's the really tricky part. This isn't a one-and-done battle. Every single time you choose the distraction, you're actually training your brain. You're reinforcing a nasty feedback cycle. We call it the procrastination loop. And it's how a simple act of avoidance spirals into a deeply ingrained habit that's tough to break. Here's how that nasty loop works. Step 1, a task pops up, and your brain flags it as a threat. Step 2, you do something else to avoid it. Get a snack, check your email, and for a second, you feel this wave of relief. But then, and this is the killer, step 3 hits. The guilt and anxiety come rushing back because you know you're not doing the thing you're supposed to. And that makes the task seem even more horrible than before, which, of course, just makes you want to avoid it more, and the loop starts all over again. Okay, so that sounds pretty bleak, right? But here's the good news. The best part about understanding the neuroscience is that it hands us the instruction manual for how to fix it. So how do we break this cycle? Let's get into some real, science-backed strategies that help you work with your brain instead of constantly fighting against it. This first idea is a total game changer. We spend so much time waiting to feel motivated to start something, but this quote gets it right. Motivation doesn't come first, action does. Just starting, even in the tiniest way for just 2 minutes, starts to calm down your brain's threat alarm and actually begins to trigger its reward system. The secret is just to start. And check this out. Here is an incredibly powerful technique. Research found that using simple if-then plans can boost your chances of actually following through on a task by up to 300%. 300! You're basically making the decision ahead of time, so when the moment comes, your rational brain has a clear plan, leaving less room for your emotional brain to take over and run amok. So let's put it all together. Here are the core strategies. Use the 2-minute rule. Just open the document. Create a simple if-then plan. If it's 9 a.m., then I will write 1 sentence. Make the task less scary by breaking it down into ridiculously small steps. And this one is huge. Practice self-compassion. Seriously, beating yourself up just adds another layer of negative emotion to the task, making the loop worse. And finally, set yourself up for success. Design your environment so those easy dopamine hits, like your phone, are out of sight. So if you take away only one thing from all of this, let it be this. Procrastination is not a character flaw. It is not a sign that you are lazy or undisciplined. It's a very human, very predictable brain response to a perceived threat. It's about biology, not a personal failure. You know, just understanding this science can be so liberating. It lets you off the hook for all that guilt and shame. It shifts the question from what's wrong with me to a much more powerful one. How can I work with the brain I've got? So I'll leave you with this to chew on. Your brain built this trap, but now you know how it works. So how are you going to teach it the way out?